Hey everyone, this is George Soto and you're watching Startups Unedited. Hey everyone, this is George Soto with Soto Ventures. Hope all is well. I'm, first of all, super excited to be joined by Ryan Abramson. And Brian, I'm glad I got your name. Did I get it there?
Yeah, my whole life it's been a challenge for people, but yeah, it's Abramson, and I'm happy to be here as well. Thanks, George.
And so you were hired or salesperson number 2 at G2 Crowd, which I know the folks over at Chicago Ventures who were, in your deal and very excited about what you're doing. For me, my perspective is, and I've been thinking about what you guys have actually been able to accomplish for a long time. I was like, why is there no directory that works? That's just like, the Yelp of B2B software. And so
Right.
I'm super excited about, what you guys have been able to do. I just saw Tim at an event a couple of weeks ago. So thank you for joining us on the show today. We're actually live from Los Angeles. So this is Beverly Hills here.
Looking good. It's a good spot.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can see LA in the background there.
All right. Well, I'm in my little San Francisco apartment here, so not much for you to see. Not going to give you the tour.
Well, it's not my place. So I'm just blessed to be here today. Awesome. Well, hey, why don't you take a second to kind of just give the audience a little, sort of a little background on yourself. I mean, you've done so many different things. You worked at like radio stations. You've done like, content creation. I mean, you're like kind of like, I would consider you the salesperson of today and of the future, who's not just a person who dials and works and closes, but actually understands what sales and marketing does together and how it should be aligned.
Yeah, for sure. I try to put myself in a lot of channels, whether that's creating content on my own or working for an organization that lets me be passionate about what I sell, and then trying to use my experience in these different industries. Like you said, I've worked in radio, I've worked in sports media, I've worked in software sales from everything from the desktop to the data center, and now selling marketing solutions at G2 Crowd. I've also dabbled in some reality TV. I was on a cooking show called On the Menu, and that's kind of my 15 minutes of fame, and just using all these different skills to try to be different and be remembered as a salesperson. I think that's what's kind of driven me to this point right now.
You said something that I thought was pretty interesting and powerful, being remembered, right? And I think
Starts with the beard.
Hey man, I'm with you. I just trimmed it a little bit because I had to go and do some work at some enterprise company, so I couldn't look like a complete maniac. But
Yeah, that might be how I look, but we're growing the enterprise business. That's why we're in San Francisco. But
there
yeah,
you go. Well, you said something, and just to kind of, circle back to that, being able to leverage social media and marketing channels now in ways that we've never been able to do. Look at what we're doing today. We set up some very basic, webcam stuff, right? Using some very basic self-serve equipment, and now we're able to create this marketing content, which, of course is, hopefully will drive you some deals over there at G2 Crowd. Speaking of which, tell us a little bit about what you're doing. I'm in love with the technology again, but, I'd love to get your perspective on what you guys are doing as a company.
Yeah. So as G2 Crowd, we're the #1 business software review site. And really our goal, we want to bring transparency to B2B buying. And we want to really do this for the buyer to start. We want the buyer to be able to find the right tool for their company. So every day in our consumer lives, we're looking for the best restaurant, the best hot dog, best pizza, wherever we are. And I mean, I don't eat that, but if you're in Chicago, you're looking for hot dogs and you're looking for pizza, and you go on Yelp and TripAdvisor to find what you're going to do. And we wanted to translate that into the business world as well, because really the only thing is traditional analysts, or the only thing was traditional analysts. And if you didn't know of them or you couldn't afford them, you're kind of out of luck, and you have to trust the salesperson. You have to trust the company that you're talking to as an evaluator of a new solution. And so G2 Crowd, it gives people an opportunity to go on and understand what their peers are saying.
That's awesome. Now, how long has the business been around? I know that you have a fantastic founding team there, but you're based in Chicago as well, or the HQ is Chicago. Is that correct?
That's right. In the good old suburbs of Chicago. We're actually transitioning a bit down to the city as well. So there's a couple locations there. And then we just started a small office here in San Francisco. And the company as a whole has been around for about 3.5 years.
Gotcha. And so you joined, as I mentioned earlier, and we were chatting about this a little bit before the interview here. You joined as salesperson number 2. What was that experience like, going from, I know how that is, right? Where you're like, hey, everyone, we're here, to now being able to, based on what I know, really, kicking ass there. What was that experience like?
Yep. So when I walked in for my interview, it was IKEA furniture being built and just a few folks in the office. And I always kind of knew that I wanted to be part of that atmosphere and see a company grow. But it was definitely tough when I started. You're reaching out to people, you're doing your playbook, you're running through everything you need to do to get that activity up, but people not really responding and saying, hey, you're kind of the new kids on the block, and just grinding and grinding every day. And finally, we're at this point now where people are like, oh yeah, we know you guys. How should we get engaged further? And obviously you still have folks who are hesitant, and you need to go through your playbook and be different and sell to them. But just that progression has been really cool to see, and just keep grinding it out.
If you're thinking about, who your ideal customers are, we talk a lot about, ideal customer profiles and these sorts of things. Who are like the best prospects for you personally as a senior closer there at G2 Crowd? Like, who is that? What does that company look like? Or what does that title look like? I'm assuming it's marketing.
Yeah, it is marketing, but we kind of work with three different departments. We're working with product marketing. Everyone on G2 Crowd, if you're a B2B software company, you have a listing, and it's free to have the listing. Your customers could come write reviews. We never charge for anything like that. We want to give you that opportunity to at least speak to the traffic that we have and the potential buyers. And so product marketing will update the page, and they'll use that as a branding tool and give their messaging. But then we also have customer engagement and customer marketing, the folks who work with their prospects and their customers, just their customers, to come on our site and write reviews. You have to reach out to them and say, we really value you as a customer, would love to hear your feedback. And then that's going to drive up people coming to the page and looking at it. And that's where the demand generation folks come in as well. We want to get them in touch with the people who are doing the research.
That's awesome. Do you guys have an API, by the way, that folks could use to be able to, let's say, pull in content or data into their CRMs or into their marketing systems?
So we have two different things along that aspect, where one, you'll be able to integrate with different tools for customer advocacy. Influitive, for example, if you have an advocate hub there.
Shout out to those folks, Emanuela. Yeah. I mean, they're just fantastic. Mark, the former Eloqua founder, really great guy.
Yeah, doing really well. And it's great for us too, because there's so many different channels. G2 Crowd is the leading site in terms of volume and in terms of traffic, but you should have an advocacy program throughout, and you should be having your customers go on and giving feedback in all these different channels. But to have a challenge set up in Influitive is really helpful to integrate that to G2 Crowd. And then we also are directly integrated with LinkedIn. So anybody who signs in through LinkedIn, and they're submitting requests for demos, they're actually pulling that data. And if you write a review, you have to sign in through LinkedIn. That way we know you're not working for that company, you're not working for a competitor, and it really helps to make it more trustworthy.
Got it. So you're essentially like kind of like validating the or verifying that user by forcing them in a good way, of course, to use their ID, which is LinkedIn. That's fantastic. But as I think about it, and you kind of, spoke to it here in a second, like, what do you do? And I'm sure you hear this from marketers or prospects, like, how do you handle negative reviews?
Yeah, that's a great question. And really, we encourage people not to be afraid of negative reviews. If you look at some of the folks or some of the brands on G2 Crowd who use it the best, they have this really great dynamic of really good reviews and then maybe not so happy customers. But it helps, one, to improve the integrity of the profile, and two, gives your team a chance to really engage with your community of customers. So if someone's not as happy, maybe they mentioned a feature that you actually have and they didn't know about. So to be able to respond as the vendor is huge. And that's what we give brands the ability to do on G2 Crowd. If they own their page, which is free, they can respond to somebody and say, actually, we do have this, or, hey, let's talk more about this and try to understand how we can help you further.
That's awesome. So I wanted to unpack a couple things real quick, because again, as salesperson number 2, at G2 Crowd. You've gone through the trials and tribulations. You've really been able to help scale the organization. If you're a founder who's got a small team, or you're an early salesperson at that small team or within that small team, what are one or two tips that you would give that individual around how to crush your numbers, how to start to get those original or those early customers rather, and what not to focus on? I think that's probably one of the more important things. What do I not focus on?
Yeah, I would say don't focus on the sale. Really try to focus on what's going to be important to your buyer. And we focus on the buyer, which for us are all of the visitors and all of the researchers who come to G2 Crowd. We put them first. And so if you're putting first, maybe your buyer is X role at X company, ask them, what is important to you? And, try to, if that's your ideal customer, try to tailor that and try to really speak to them. And
Awesome.
Bet on yourself. I always feel that as salespeople, we're really, we're competitive, and I say bet on yourself because hard work and determination are what's going to really, take you to the next level. And so you'll see behind me, I've got a little roulette table.
Nice.
Sometimes you have to just put the chips down and say, let's go random. But I always bet on myself. And I say, if I work hard and I'm determined, I always think that I'm going to win. And that's how you should kind of take the first steps at your company.
Was there a particular process or set of tools or whatnot that you used as a team, as a small team? And, you got 2 salespeople, right? At that point, that you used to be able to nail who your ideal customers were, at least, during the early years of the business.
Yeah. So for us, I think it's a little bit easier because we have 10,000 products on the site, more now. And so anyone who's listed on our site, anyone that does B2B software, they're our customer really. And we want to help them, speak to prospects through the voice of their current customers. So for somebody who's not sure yet, after you make that first sale or after you make that first couple, try to just really crush that industry, crush that type of customer, and then try to expand that into, other fields and other industries.
So just what I think I'm hearing is focus on some very specific industries. Of course, it's going to be any software. In your case, your total addressable market is pretty darn big, right?
Yeah.
And then once you win in that category, move on to the next, kind of chipping away at specific verticals. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I gotta ask you, why wouldn't I use G2 Crowd? Like it's just kind of a no-brainer. I mean, in a world where we want to obviously drive highly qualified inbound, which is there, right? Of course, right? That's helping the organic, SEO and all the all that search stuff that we value so highly. Then you talked about a customer advocacy piece, which I didn't really think about, right? Which is actually pretty darn awesome, right?
Yeah.
We know that the deals that come from referrals and when we have testimonials and these sorts of things, we know that those deals are going to close quicker and be more meaningful. Why wouldn't I use it? Like, what are some of the objections you get? I don't get it.
Yeah, I think the number one objection we get is we ask so much of our customers, and to put this on their plate as well, it's just a lot, and we're not sure how they'll respond. And that's totally understandable. Customers are, when they are advocates, you are asking a lot of them. You're asking them to post on social. You're asking them to do interviews. You're asking them to do testimonials and traditional analyst work. But to be able to, as a salesperson, so if I was ever somewhere else selling and it was a B2B software product and it wasn't on G2 Crowd, I would be pretty furious because when somebody asks, they say, can I get a testimonial or can I get a case study? I'm going to say, sure, but it's my 5 best friends or it's our number one customer. How about you just go on G2 Crowd and read 20, read 100, read however many reviews we have and find someone who's just like you. So back to the objection of, we're asking so much, it's is this important to you to really have that third party voice? And we also do some of the outreach too. As G2 Crowd, we'll do it as a third party, and then it's coming from a fresh source and maybe you're not bombarding them so much. But there's so many different sources out there to have customer advocacy that this is just becoming a no-brainer, and it has to be integrated into the daily and quarterly and yearly process of these companies.
Awesome. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. If we want to follow you on social, we got to promote you on social here. What's your
For sure.
handle? Where are you at? How can people get in contact with you? If there's a marketer or product marketer or promotional marketing manager wants to get in touch and look, talk to you about strategy, how
Yep.
can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, I would say best way, email me directly on LinkedIn, Ryan Abramson, Abramson, and at G2_Ryan is my Twitter handle. So tweet at me, tweet at G2. You'll probably find us tweeting at these product marketers as well, asking them to claim their page and update some of the info. So looking forward to connecting everybody. Thanks.
Awesome. Anything we should look forward to seeing from G2 Crowd? Any features? Anything you can, any sexy stuff you can share with us?
Actually, yeah, the site is getting pretty sexy. We're changing the skins of the profile a bit, so you're going to see a lot more of extending the brand to our site. And so you'll see banner images, you'll see people being able to actually promote, if you have multiple products, promote one product on a different product page and let people know that you have multiple products for their stack.
Awesome. And I'm glad you did this. Again, I've said that like 6 times this interview, but again, as an organization, it's so needed. It's like, why hasn't this existed? One of those things. So I'm super excited. You've seen LinkedIn kind of try to do some stuff with company pages, but that's another story, right?
Yep.
But anyways, hey, listen, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We should get together soon in San Francisco as soon as I'm back.
For
We'll
sure.
check out Los Angeles here. It's phenomenal. It's always sunny. Who knows how much time I'll spend here, but I'm definitely loving it.
Thanks, George. Yeah, if I'm down there, I'll give you a shout.
All right, sounds good. Have a great day.
All right, take care, man.
All
Bye.
right, see you.